Hey everyone, Difference Maker here, and today I'll be going over Pinhead, aka the Cenobites, power and his perks that came with Chapter 21. Now, sadly, it's only one character this time, and no survivor, which we will be getting in the mid-chapter. So, today, he's finally came, the Cenobite, the Hell Priest, Pinhead himself. This has been Behavior's most requested IP since the game got Michael Myers. The devs have wanted Pinhead for a long time, and now he's finally come to Dead by Daylight with his new power and perks. So in this video, I'll be going over his power, his perks, and in my opinion on how I think they all are. So with all that out of the way, let's just go over what his power does in the first place. Alright guys, so Pinhead's power is called Summons of Pain. It's basically an extraterrestrial gateway that leads to pleasure or pain, which Pinhead prefers pain. So basically how it works is you hold down the power button, and what it does is it creates a portal similar to Nurse, which you know how like when Nurse holds down the button you can point through walls? Pinhead kinda works like that, but it's different. How it works is you hold down the button and you summon a portal which can go through walls, and when you teleport to that area you shoot out a chain, and if that chain latches onto a survivor they will not be able to run. You bound the survivor with 3 chains and they won't be able to run. They have to remove all the chains, which takes 1 second, but if Pinhead or the chains get into an obstacle they will break. And that's pretty much how Pinhead's chains work, but there's a second part to his power, which is the Lament configuration. Basically, at the start of the game, the box will spawn somewhere in the trial. The survivors can see the aura, but the killer cannot see the Lament configuration. And basically, on the survivor portraits, there's a chain circle that goes around it, and how it works is over time, that'll fill up, and when it reaches the maximum, the chain hunt will start. And what the chain hunt does is all survivors will be harassed by chains every second, and it will not stop until someone picks up the Lament configuration. And if a survivor picks it up, the chain hunt will stop with all the survivors, but the person carrying the box will be harassed by chains, and if they solve it, Pinhead can teleport to the box, which is cool. Like right there, like you can teleport to the box as they solve it, which is a great thing. It gives him map pressure. But if Pinhead finds the box, he will start a chain hunt on all survivors and they will all scream, revealing their position. And then once and after a while, the box will respawn, rinse and repeat. And that's pretty much Pinhead's basic power, and I am honestly surprised. Like, I'm gonna be honest, he will need some buffs. He is not perfect. Pinhead is gonna need buffs. He is not top tier. He's not perfect, but he's not as bad as everyone is making him out to me, but like he has potential to be a good killer, but there's one fatal problem. He's bugged. His lunge is kind of broken right now and it doesn't work, and he is kind of hard. Pinhead is one of the tougher killers to learn, but it's annoying how he's tough but he doesn't feel that rewarding to use because his chain is very hard to aim and to move. But if you ignore all that, if in terms of uniqueness, he's actually a pretty unique killer. See, everyone calls him just another ranged killer, but he is not just another ranged killer. Like, he can teleport, and you get to play a game of sabotage, or I think it's called headquarters, where 2 sides fight over an objective. Like, you know how in Call of Duty World at War, how you have to fight over that one flag in sabotage? That's what it feels like, how the killer has to fight for the box or the survivors have to go to the box, which introduces a fun gameplay dynamic who will get that box first, which I really like. They introduced that. It makes it very fun. So overall, in my opinion on Pinhead's power, if it wasn't bugged in its current state, then I would say if this wasn't bugged, it's a pretty good power, honestly. It's like, yes, it would need some tweaks. I would put some tweaks here and there, but overall, it's a pretty solid killer. I think he's in the mid tier. And before I wrap up the video, I gotta talk about Pinhead's 3 perks. So let's get to them. Alright, so Pinhead's first perk is called Deadlock, and this perk's simple. What it does is when a generator is repaired, the entity will block the generator with the most progress for 30 seconds, and you'll see its aura in white. It's such a simple perk, and yet it's actually one of Pinhead's best perks. And I'm going to be honest, this perk might actually become meta because of how good it is. Basically, does one thing, but it does one thing very good. Hate gen rushing, run Deadlock. Deadlock has such a great effect. When a generator gets done, the highest progress generator will get blocked, which is amazing because this perk will buy so much time for you to hook a survivor, get to that location, and then you kick the gen with either pop or any gen regression perk. So overall, I think Deadlock is a very good perk. So now let's get to the second perk, which is Hex Plaything, which I think it's one of the best Hex perk names. In my opinion, the best name to a perk, in my opinion. Plaything is such a cool fucking name for a perk. So basically what Hex Plaything does is it has a unique effect. Basically, when you hook a survivor, that survivor will become cursed, and any dull totem on the map will turn into a Hex perk, and Hex Plaything will activate on that totem. So when a survivor is unhooked, they're going to be oblivious the whole game until they cleanse the totem. And now that might not sound cool, but there's a twist. When they get unhooked, they can see the totem's aura for 90 seconds within a meter of 12, but only the cursed survivor can cleanse the totem. So that means if you hook someone and you unhook them and they're infected by Plaything, only they can cleanse the perk. No one else can cleanse it until the time runs out. So for 90 seconds, only the cursed survivor can cleanse Hex Plaything, which is pretty interesting. It's like, out of all the perks of Pinhead, Hex Plaything is the strangest perk because it introduces a new uniqueness to Hex perks while also giving it such a fun effect of how it doesn't activate until you hook someone. It's like, you know how with Hex, Devour, Hope, and Lullaby, they can be destroyed before you even hook someone? Plaything doesn't activate until you hook the first survivor, which, in my opinion, I think Devour, Hope, and Lullaby should work like Plaything, where they don't activate until you hook the first guy. I think that's how it should work for those perks. But overall on Plaything, I think it's actually a pretty good perk, pretty good Hex perk. I don't think it's strong like Noed or Devour Hope, but I would do a little tweaks. Like, I would do some tweaks on Plaything, but overall, it's actually a pretty good perk. I love Plaything. And now Pinhead's final perk is Scorch Hook's Gift of Pain. And thank God, it's about time we finally got a new perk type, because Michael Myers introduced the Obsession perks and the Hag introduced Hex perks, and we never got a new perk type since the Hag, and now we finally got it, which is Scorch Hooks. Pinhead introduced Scorch Hooks, which basically how they work is at the start of the trial, 4 random hooks will become Scorch Hooks, which are basically white hooks. So they're like the special hooks from Hollowed Blight and Summer Barbecue. And basically what this perk does is when you hook someone on a Scourge hook, it gives them a special effect. So if someone's unhooked from the Scourge hook, they get the Hemorrhage and Mangled status effect, which is basically Sloppy Butcher but on a hook. But the effect kicks in when they get healed. So the first time they're healed from a Scourge hook, they will suffer a repair penalty of 9% for repairing and healing, which 9% might not sound strong, but it can be very good. But my thoughts on the Scourge hook, I love the idea. I love the concept of having a new perk type like the Scourge hooks, which is cool because we have Hex perks and Obsession perks, but I don't like the perk they chose to introduce it. Like, seriously, Sloppy Butcher and a Reverse Resilience combined into one on special hooks. Like, I think they could have come up with something more creative than Sloppy Butcher on a hook with a repair penalty. I thought they could have come up with something more creative, but this is the very first time they're introducing Scourge hooks, so I'll give it a chance. I think they'll get better as we go on. So that's my thoughts on Pinheads or the Cenobites perks, and honestly, I think his perks aren't that bad, honestly. It's like deadlock is great. Hex plaything is very good. It's interesting. And scorch hook, while it might not be the strongest, introduce a new idea to perks that could be very good. It could be an interesting way of making new perks with the scorch hooks. And overall, that's my thoughts on Pinhead or the Cenobite. I hope he gets some buff soon. I think they're just gonna change him a little, and honestly, I think he's a pretty fine killer. His perks could use tweaks, but overall, I think Pinhead's a very good addition to the game. I love his perks. I'm into his gameplay, and let's hope they fix his bugs. Pinhead needs to just get his bugs fixed and get some buffs, and he'll be golden. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Press the silver bell for notifications on my newest video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.